Joining me in our visual radio studio on our Friday Spotlight program to talk a little bit about the Best Brass of Christmas concert, Connie Schulz is here. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
And also the one and only Mick Hesse is here from Roving with the Arts. Good morning.
I'm glad to be here at this hour.
Well, I'm glad to have you here at this hour. And it's great to see you as well as listen to you, because we know you have a lot of fans that listen to you, but they may not always be able to see you like right now. So
I understand they're all over the world, too.
They are all over the world. We hear from them. They're very vocal sometimes. So hello, all of the global Mick Hesse fans around the world who are tuning in this afternoon to talk to us. But you are both part of this big brass ensemble that get together every holiday season to perform this concert. We were talking about this is the 13th year for Best Brass, right, Connie Schulz?
Yep. We started in December of 2007. Sort of kicked off the 100th anniversary for Sacred Heart, and it became an annual event. So we're very grateful to Sacred Heart for hosting it every year.
Exactly, and you bring in musicians from all over as well, too. That's all part of this concert, correct?
Yep. Denver, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, sometimes Washington State. This year we have a gentleman coming from Phoenix. So, yeah.
Very, very good. And let me show you. We have the picture. Your picture. You took this picture.
Yes.
Right. So this is the picture that we associate with Best Brass, and it is coming up a week from tomorrow. The concert. We should let everybody know at Sacred Heart Catholic Church.
Correct.
And 7:00.
7 p.m. Saturday, 14th.
December 14th. And so you've got 11 brass players coming together. And so let me ask the two of you about, what is it about brass? What is it about, I'm asking a trumpet player. We only have a half an hour. But talk to me about it, because it has a distinct sound, right, when you get all these brass players together. And it's not just trumpets either.
No. I would say it's an enlarged portion of an orchestral brass section, which includes these same instruments, particularly euphonium, which isn't heard very often in an orchestra, but for example, Gustav Holst's The Planets featured the euphonium in a very, very special solo. There's a couple of other places, pictures at an exhibition could be played on euphonium. There's a big solo in there. So it's not a forgotten instrument, but it's used very sporadically, but with great effect, I should say.
Right. We don't maybe hear it or see it as often as we
True.
could, and you're mentioning that because that's, Connie, that's your instrument. That's what you play, and so we get to experience that at these concerts.
We have four trumpets,
Right.
3 trombones, 2 horns, a partridge in the pear tree.
I knew. Why did I know that was where?
And a euphonium
go.
and
Yeah.
a tuba.
Okay.
And a tuba. So we've got the full gamut of, which is really cool because it goes from the lowest instruments, the tuba, up to the piccolo trumpet, which is the highest brass instrument.
Right.
So we've got a great spectrum of sound.
And having them all together then really kind of, I guess, fills the musical void, right? You can play almost anything, can't you?
Right. And it's such
I know Mick does anyway.
It's just such a festive sound. You know,
Right.
you have brass, and it really, truly will put you in the Christmas spirit.
It does. I know. When I've gone to the concert, I get that all the time. That's very true. And we have a couple samples that we want to play for folks this morning to get into the holiday spirit a little bit from some albums that you all have produced over the years. And so which one do we want to start with? The fanfare?
We're going to do a fanfare. This is Christmas Fanfare. It's an interesting title at this time of year, but a guy named Brian Sadler, what instrument does he play?
He is a trombonist with the Navy Band.
Has arranged this one, and when there's a brass player who is arranging the music, they really know what they're doing as far. I mean, if you got a flute composer who decided to write for a brass ensemble, it probably wouldn't work.
That may be a little more telling, right? But this this one not so much.
But this is right down the alley for brass players and listeners.
All right, let's give a listen to it. This is the Christmas fanfare.
Right.
Okay, stand by, everyone. Christmas Fanfare, part of the Best Brass of Christmas. My guests, Mick Hesse is here and Connie Schulz, talking a little bit about this annual concert at Sacred Heart Catholic Church. And it's coming up a week from tomorrow, right? On December the 14th, everybody. And it's a free concert at Sacred Heart on North Allen in Farmington. And it's always a great evening to get together and listen to this great music. And a lot of it has some great history, too, right? These pieces.
Well, you know, brass music goes back a long, long ways. Not euphonium, by the way.
Right.
And but it's been associated with festival kind of music for years and years. Trumpets especially, because they go back. Well, actually, probably the trombone goes back further than the trumpet, but the trumpet in some form was always associated with royalty and fanfares that might be played for royalty, those kind of things, you know. And biblically, it's all over the Bible, actually.
Right, those
It's
trumpets.
mentioned the trumpets, you know, the gates of heaven and stuff like that, or the gates of hell, I suppose, could also be open to trumpet players.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate, but, you know, okay. But interesting. But and the music, though, that has a great history, too, right? These selections that you've got picked for this concert?
You know, a lot of them are recently composed or arranged. Arrangements is really what we mostly do. There's a couple of original pieces, but for the most part, there's arrangements of traditional Christmassy music,
right?
Perhaps. Also, you know, the quality of brass playing has grown incredibly in the last 25 years, I would say. Small groups, for example, Canadian brass, which is world known, but they're longer. Actually, they're more than 25 years old now. But they sort of changed the landscape for virtuoso style ensemble brass playing, I would say.
Interesting. And so, is it easier to find arrangements for brass? I mean, you've got 11 members, right? So that's
Connie
a big,
has a brass
big group.
publishing company, so
Right.
And through that, I was introduced to Boulder Brass Publications, which has these same 11 instruments. And in the earlier years, we did quite a few of their arrangements. Mike Allen and Dave Hansen's arrangements, great, kind of innovative writing styles. We have since talked with Don Allen, our bass trombonist, who is a wonderful writer. He's arranges nonstop all year round, and so he's providing a lot of the arrangements since we've kind of exhausted the Boulder Brass library. But that instrumentation that we use is really starting to come around the world, selling quite a bit of that style of writing, so it's becoming a popular size group,
Right.
actually, yeah.
Right, which is different from when you first started, probably, when there were far and few in between, I guess, of finding these arrangements.
10 players was pretty standard for a large brass ensemble, and it started in London, actually, with Philip Jones, who was a wonderful trumpet player, and they used local, obviously, top quality, talented players in London to form this ensemble. And they did a huge library, actually, but it was 10. And when we put together this group, we chose 11 so that it didn't exclude the euphonium.
Of course, right? Very politically savvy of you.
Yes.
And maybe we've actually spread some of the word about 11-part writing because, as Connie said, it's becoming a little more popular. Mm-hmm. And it fills every brass player's need.
Okay. There you go.
I mean, it really does.
Something for everyone.
And that's one of the reasons this ensemble has been so, not popular, but successful, is that the guys who come and play in this every year, as Connie mentioned, they come from a long ways away. They drive, these guys from Denver and now Phoenix, to come and play in this group. And that says a lot for the quality that brass players love to be involved with. So
True.
It's great. It's really great.
Yeah.
And we treat them really well. We give them candy canes and
Well, that's nice of you.
and
Yeah.
there's free
hot chocolate
chocolate
somewhere.
after the concert. There's free
Right.
cookies and hot chocolate.
Right. Well, let's talk about that too, because this is all part of the event, right? It really is more than just a concert
Yeah.
at
Right.
the church, and so that always makes it into a nice evening. I think when you're planning an evening out, get some great music and then some company, and you can visit with folks you probably haven't seen in maybe a while, and get some food too, right?
Right.
Or a little bit of snacks.
The high school youth group from Sacred Heart serves hot chocolate and homemade cookies and brownies and whatnot. And then they also will have some wood carvings from the Holy Land available for sale.
Okay.
But
And this is usually right next door or at the church, right?
right next door.
So
Just walk out of the church into the social hall,
yeah,
and there
you're all set.
you're all set.
There you go. That's true. Now, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the selections that you've got for this year's concert, right? Because they do change from year to year, right?
They change
I
every
mean,
year,
Yeah.
with the exception
you do
of
have one, I
We
know.
have one piece that always is the same, and that's Magnum Mysterium that we discovered, well, the first year, actually, didn't we?
Yes.
Obviously. Yeah.
It's a vocal piece, and we talked
So
about
Mick is going to sing.
no.
Okay. Just
right
check.
at the very end, so
Just
people can
checking.
leave right over and get their
That will
coat.
clear the hall.
Singing and dancing. No. We talked about that a big brass ensemble is very festive and, just gets you in the spirit. Well, this particular piece shows a different style of playing that is just so incredibly beautiful. It's a vocal piece written by Morton Lordson, and I first discovered the piece playing in a wind ensemble, an arrangement of this in a wind ensemble. Fell in love with the melodies and the dissonances that are created by his writing, and started on YouTube, of course, where you learn about all different kinds of arrangements, and found that there was an arrangement for brass. A little bit different instrumentation that we used, but we adapted it for us. And it's become the centerpiece of our concert every year.
Every year, right? It's something that you go back to. But it does really kind of change the pace a little bit
does.
and kind of change the feel in the concert hall, I would say, in the church.
It does.
When you're performing that.
We don't often get to play as brass players, this style of music, so we love it. It's just an absolute beautiful piece.
The piece was originally written for SAT, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, choir, and that happens to fit the instrumentation of a brass ensemble as well, from the bass to the soprano voice, and it's beautifully arranged. It just the guy knew what he was doing when he's one of the most prolific writers of choral music too, wouldn't you
Yes.
say?
Nice.
Lordson.
Right.
Become very, very, and it's really quality. It's not just schlocky kind of music. It's beautiful music.
Right, very much so.
Yeah.
Which is why it's part of the concert every
Yes,
year, I would say,
yes.
because it really does stand up, and it's great to hear it performed, because it's one you don't really hear very often, at least in my musical circles,
Exactly.
especially by a brass ensemble. So there you go. Now the other pieces are going to be. Can you give us
Well, we
some?
always start with a fanfare, a
Right.
quickie like we started the show today.
Right.
That kind of gets everybody's attention. It's actually a lot of people come to this concert, and they start showing up quite early, and they sit there for a half hour, 35 minutes or so, waiting for things to start, and without any announcements or anything, the lights go down, and bang, we hit them with a fanfare, a Christmassy one. And this one this year was written by a friend of mine from a long time ago now. Most of my friends are old. And
They're dear friends. We can
and
call
actually,
them
he
that.
came to Farmington one year and played with the Kisma Brass Band, and that was a while back as well. But his name is Lou Buckley, and he's actually was the longest. Tell me, he was the commander of the Coast Guard band in New Haven. Is that where
Yes,
it is?
Connecticut,
Okay,
New Haven,
yes.
Connecticut. Yeah.
Yep.
And he is the longest serving conductor of a military band, I believe. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
Something like
yeah.
that.
Okay.
right. He's retired, but
Yeah.
a great trumpet player, and now we're finding out a really, really fine arranger and composer. So this is a new piece for us called Christmas Brass. It's
Okay.
called.
All right. But that will start off the show.
That'll
That
start
will
it
get
off.
everyone stop talking and pay attention. It's time for the concert.
Then we go to
They've been
the end
visiting
of the
for a
show
while.
because that's easy to describe too, and then we
Yes.
can fill in the blanks. But
Another annual
Right.
thing, we like to end our program with Dona Nobis Pacem. We have a big banner, 12-foot banner, I believe, stretched across the back of the hall, and it has the words and the music. So we invite the audience to sing in a round with us.
Nice.
So,
yeah, Dona Nobis Pot. You get to say that over and over and over.
Okay.
again.
there you are. But little audience participation then, too, with this concert, right?
Well, we've learned that we can do it. We get a standing ovation because we ask them to stand and sing
and
this
sing.
this last piece.
Sneaky. That's very sneaky.
giving
I-
away all of our secrets.
Something tells me they might stand up anyway, even if they've been sitting. But okay, if that's how you do it, that's great.
Well, a few of the other tunes.
Yeah.
There's one called Shepherd's Pipe,
Right?
and then there's a Carol of the Bells feature. It seems like that's always such a great tune, and there's so many arrangements of it available now that we try to find a new one each year.
Right?
Special this year, Connie can talk about this because this is our guitar playing friend Mario Armendariz, who is going to be joining us this year.
Yes, we're going to feature him on one piece, solo piece. They're traditional Spanish carols.
Nice.
And
Okay.
again, Don Allen from Farmington here arranged these to include guitar.
This is the first time we've had a non-brass musician.
And the first featured soloist.
Right.
Okay.
So
He does a
it's
great
gonna,
job.
that's going to
Yes.
really change the pace. So if people are familiar with the sound of a classical guitar, which is so different than what most people hear most of the time when it comes to guitar,
Right.
it's heavenly. It really is. And Mario is really a soulful person, and it's going to be nice. It's going to change the pace of the concert at that point, and we're looking forward to it.
Okay. All right. Very good. And we have another piece of music we want to share, too, with the audience this noon. And so this is a different piece, a little bit longer piece
What
Do
did
we
we
remember?
I forgot.
No.
This is from an album.
from an older album, right? That we're talking about. That's true. That's right.
Yes, this is, it includes O Come All Ye Faithful.
All right. Let's give a listen, everyone. Some music similar to what you'll hear at the Best Brass of Christmas concert, which is coming up a week from tomorrow at Sacred Heart Catholic Church here in Farmington. I'm Scott Michlin on our Friday Spotlight program, joined by Mick Hesse and Connie Schulz. And again, the concert's at 7 o'clock on December the 14th at Sacred Heart Catholic Church. And it's been at the church for, I don't know, forever? For how many years?
This is our 13th year.
So all of them, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's never moved from...
We've added some concerts,
Right.
but we've always had.
But they always
one-
perform here in Farmington at the church, which is great. And so we got a little bit of an example of some of the different arrangements there for some classic Christmas songs, and that's more of what we'll hear in this year's show.
Yes, one that we want to mention again involves Don Allen, our arranger, our resident arranger.
Yes.
He's put together, what is it called? Silver Bells. Silver bells, silver bells.
Right, thank you. Okay, right,
you know that one,
thank
right?
you. Yes, sure.
If you want to hear a better version, you can come.
That is a Dean Martin impression that I've ever heard of.
But the cool thing about this one is going to feature our tuba player and one of the trumpet players in a duet.
Ah.
And we've featured the tuba guy several times because he's really an outstanding
Yes.
tuba player, just a monster
Right.
on the instrument, and you don't get to hear tuba solos very often, especially at that level.
Sure.
And so this kind of breaks their mold a little bit because it's kind of a ballady kind of thing, but. Connie will sing a little more Silver Bells for everybody.
We'll just wait
Silver
for next
There you
week.
go. See,
Okay.
there you go.
But there'll be
Right.
a bunch of other,
Yeah.
sort of traditional Christmassy things, a few things that'll be new to people, but for the most part, we stick with the tried and true programming of things that people enjoy hearing.
Sure, sure.
No challenges. I mean, there's no test at the end or anything like that.
No,
Just-
right. Just an evening of great music. And again, you've got these 11 players who are coming in from hundreds of miles away in some cases, right? You mentioned
Yes.
Denver and Phoenix and some other places like that. So,
Right.
so how do you rehearse, or do you just kind of everyone does their own thing and you come together maybe and
We come together the evening before the performance.
Okay.
We have a lengthy rehearsal that night, and then touch and go. We call it rehearsal the morning of.
Right.
And that's it. That's when.
Now, these are really
you bring
fine
in-
players,
yep,
so
you bring in
there's no
fine-
conductor.
right?
We just sit down and people know their business, and they do get their music ahead of time, obviously, but for the most part, we just sit and go, and we set the tempos, and everybody does the right thing.
Right. Well, and again, right, with this caliber of player, I imagine you can send the music and they get it
Right.
right, and they come and you just need that one night rehearsal beforehand, and you're good to go. So that would be how it works. Well, looking forward to it. As always, thank you both for coming in. And again, it is the Best Brass of Christmas concert, everyone, and it's coming up on Saturday, December 14th, a free concert.
Correct.
Sacred Heart Catholic Church, 414 North Allen Avenue in Farmington for our radio listeners. And again, it is a big group of brass players. I mean, again, we don't see 11 very often.
We fill the stage.
You do fill the stage
Yes.
at Sacred Heart, but 11 brass players, and again, it's a free concert, and then refreshments afterwards next door, and some other opportunities for some holiday gift giving and buying.
Correct.
We do want to remind people that Father Tim has been the impetus behind this, and Sacred Heart has sponsored us.
Yes, of course.
Each year, so it's a gift, their gift actually, and I think Father Tim said that once. This is his gift or the parish's gift to the community. So come on out and hear a great concert.
That's true. All right, we'll see you there.
Thank you, Tim.
See?
Scott.
Thank you very much, everybody. It is the Best Brass of Christmas, Saturday, December 14th. My guests here on KSJE, Mick Hesse and Connie Schulz.